can say wow. Let's enjoy some fun conversation. We'll be shooting the shelf around the nation. Let's start shooting the shelf.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of Shooting the Shelf, episode 38. Curtis. I gotta say, I don't know if I've said this before. If I have, it just goes to show my memory is absolute garbage when it comes to real life situations. I think the favorite part of the intro, other than the song, of course, is watching your hair transform through the clips. Like, I need to do that intentionally next time, where it
I was going to ask you if we're going to do updated clips for the new year, or how that's going to work. Because
it's a lot of work. Don't put that pressure on me. We'll have a new promo graphic for the thumbnail, style for next year. But
I don't know, man. I mean, I've lost a lot of weight since last year, and hair is different. I think maybe we need some new pictures. So, just saying.
All right. I would try to do a sloppy fun version to look like I did it sloppy, but that would take as much, if not more, work than actually just redoing it. So yeah.
Anyway. I will say though, I had a little bit of a rough day. It was not the greatest, but that music hits and I'm ready to go. I'm excited. We got a great guest. We got all these lovely people here joining us. I get to hang out with you. Yeah, it's gonna be fun. So
excellent. Well, I'm glad being on the show has put you in a better mood. I'm sorry you had a bad day.
It is what it is.
Well, speaking of folks in the chat, I'll run through those real quick, unless you want to.
How about it, man?
First in, Dirk's Designs. What's up, Dirk? Hope you're having a good day. Chris Johnson, Rob Zamora, Il Spooky Zorro, Jose
by the way,
Torres.
Real quick, I'm sorry, I don't mean to interrupt you, but I don't know if you saw PGG last night, but Dirk can fit 13 full-size marshmallows in his mouth. Not the little ones, but the big jet puff marshmallows. 13. So
I feel bad for him for learning that.
He almost died on it. It was almost their second casualty on the show. They almost lost Billy, and then last night they almost lost Dirk.
It's not as bad as talking about mayo, but that many marshmallows in your mouth just does not make me comfortable. Brian Lynn from Carver Customs, Stacy Lynn. So three of the four Lynns are here. I saw, what was it the other night? Got all four of them. Kirby's here. Tanya McCoy, Jordan, the Wholesome Warlock, Darla Ackerman. I think you know her.
I do.
Big Greg, Jeff Evans. Big Greg's talking a lot in the chat. Michael Morales, Kevin McCoy. Both the McCoys are here. Don't worry, Diego. He's a lot of work to do. Bill, he's already. We got to see him. Well, we didn't see anything special. He was printing out labels. He's already at work. Sorry, Diego.
We saw Diego. He's special.
Yeah. Well, yes. I mean, we didn't get any behind the scenes Uncle Bob's Vintage Toys and Aunt Shelley are tuned in. Bill from Dorklair. I read his comment, but I didn't say his name. Romero Toy Hunter. King Castle Teaser. What's up, Nathan? Dub3. Chris Durant. Edgardo de Jesus. Dave Orkin. Chuckaluck. Mark Rivera. What's going on, buddy? Hope you're feeling good. Zin is here. Jin, sorry. Mr. C tuning in.
I posted a new picture today using the diode that he made for me. Finally,
I saw
the first time I was able to photograph it. So,
if someone hadn't pushed me for my shelf selections last night, I might have, or earlier today, I might have gotten that in there.
Hey, there's always next week. But thank you, Mr. C. It's an amazing diode, and it photographed very well. So, thank you.
JMax77, Juan Diego Rincon, Chuckaluck. I already said Chuckaluck. Steph works out there, and
both the Orkins.
I think both the Orkins. Yes, I don't know what that is. That's not sweet. All right. Well, thank you all for being here, and for those of you that are tuning into the replay or whatever it's called, thanks for joining us. We're happy to have you here. I don't normally do this, but do that whole like and subscribe if you like and want to subscribe. We enjoy it. it gives us information and stuff. Not your information, just information.
I did notice somebody missing in the chat. We didn't have I am TJ Williams. So tonight, not only is the H silent, but he is also silent because
the T and the J is also silent.
Yeah, everything. The whole TJ Williams is silent. So,
and Matt Stein just popped in. What's up?
Yeah.
Excellent. Well, folks, go check out Curtis's new post after the show, or if you're on multiple screens, you can check it out. Don't leave. We like having you here. It's fun.
I got to tell you, that custom that I posted the picture of today is part of the reason why I had a rough day. Last week I didn't paint the whole weekend because I was so frustrated with this custom. You ever get that way? Like you have a custom that just like nothing is working out for you. And it's just like you go to paint one detail and you mess up something else, and then you go to fix that and you mess up the first thing, and it's just like it was one of those where it was just a very difficult one. It was trying my patience to where I just didn't even want to create. So happy to have it done. I've had some people say some lovely things about it, and that's great. I just wanted it to be done. So
I was going to ask you about this, but I didn't read the comments, but it looks like you did the glow effect Matt.
Yeah.
Nice. And Douglas, no, I am not selling your info. I don't know if Curtis is. Maybe that's, how he's funding his new airbrush. I got stuck on my CD was skipping in my brain. Speaking of skipping in my brain, this guy's name skips in my brain every time Four Horsemen O'Clock comes on. I'm not gonna say it.
What guy?
But it's happening in my head. Our guest tonight.
Maybe this one.
This is an important Four Horsemen shipping update with Diego.
Diego.
Is that the one that you meant?
I don't know if I've seen the whole thing. Good Lord, that just kept going. The wee at the end is
and explosions.
That's new for me. But yes, folks, give it up for the one and only Diego.
Hey, Diego.
What's up, guys? I guess that intro follows me wherever I go now. Thanks for playing, guys.
Yeah,
I'm sorry. I guess Curtis has access to their files.
I did not. I specifically asked them to send that to me so that I could surprise you with it.
And it was the explosion version too. So
yeah,
keeping it up to date. Good.
I do want to call out. I am TJ Williams did show up. So the H is silent, but he is no longer silent.
I mean, technically he's silent. I mean, his words are showing up, but I don't know what he sounds like.
Yeah. Well, thank you for joining us, Diego. We appreciate it. We know that you're super busy. We actually, when we scheduled this, we didn't understand that this was going to be such a busy weekend for you. So thank you for still making time for us and joining us.
Oh, no problem. You know what? I'll be honest. When I agreed to it, I forgot that it was going to be a busy weekend. But it worked out because my work computer has a better webcam than my home one. So it all worked out in the end.
Awesome.
Okay.
Well, at the start of the show, we do a little thing called shelf selection. So anybody that's joined us for the first time, that's where we pull up photos that Jesse and I saw through the week that inspired us. We both talk about them. We give an opportunity for our guests to talk about them, and then we go from there. Jesse, can
I interrupt just real quick with a special interjection, just so we can give Diego possibly some more work before tomorrow?
Yeah.
Normally, there's not a lot. There's been an in-stock sale going on for a while now, but I'm going to share the Store Horseman page right now. Folks, if you did not get it and you still want to, there are still Figure Obscura Frankenstein's creatures available, whether you want the all-in or just the figure, or if you need another tankard. And Diego's got it in hand right there. I hit the wrong button. Curtis, you do it. Make him big.
Yeah, here we go. Very nice.
Look at that.
Yeah.
I know some people have been saying they want like the Frankenstein, like the universal look. And this is not insult on the sculpt. I think it's really cool. There's a subtle look to I'm drawing a blank on the actor's name from Young Frankenstein in the creature's face to me in the bald sculpt. just the set of the jaw or something just gives off the vibe of. I feel horrible for forgetting that actor's name, but
okay.
But yeah, so the pin is sold out, but the tankard, the all-in, where you can get both the pin and the tankard and the individual figure are available, along with a bunch of other great items, including some Figure Obscura Monkey King tumblers. Check that out.
Which we did hear from Jeremy yesterday. Said the two, if you scroll down, the Vorgus Vermilius 2, and I believe it's the Demistros, are running low on supply. So if you're thinking about getting them, you need to pull the trigger on those. So
Peter Boyle, thank you. Yes.
Yeah. And you know what? That $70 for that Frankenstein's creature, like, that's an amazing deal. Look at all the stuff you get with it. It's crazy.
Yeah.
So yeah, definitely pick up one of those or more.
Definitely.
You know,
it's such a fun set to play with. I actually have like the one that I opened to check right here. So I have like the table and, you know, just a little insight. This is the Hagnon head and the
oh, nice
jar. Let's see. Which color matches obviously with Frankenstein. So you could have like this weird pinhead sort of
like cool. In the process.
That's
cool.
But yeah, this is the one I opened up to make sure everything's okay. So
the biggest struggle for me is going to be figuring out which look to go with, whether you're going with on the table or like the, you know, clothed out and about. So
I mean, that's why you look
amazing
sets. You got
to get multiples for sure.
Very cool. Well, folks, yeah, check out storehorseman.com. Got the creature, Frankenstein's creature from Figure Obscura, and a bunch of other figures on the in-stock sale that are available now. So if you want some Horseman stuff, go get it. I mean, after the show or separate screen while watching the show.
Also, we've taken a list of all the names in the chat, and if any of you, like 6 months from now, go, man, I wish I really had that mug or that pen, we're going to tell you, hey, remember when we told you it was still available in the all-in, and you didn't get it. So, yeah, there you go.
We got
threw the jacket on this guy. So, yeah, you know, he's a fun figure. Check him out.
I think I saw that guy at a rave once. I've never been to a rave. I'm sorry. That was
all right. Well, let's get to shelf selections here.
Right.
So first one is one of mine. And this is our good friend Dub3, Lacerda Photo on Instagram. Did this amazing shot with Anubis. I love it. Love the way it's lit. Love the whole setup there. He killed it. He does, man, I tell you what, not only his toy photography, but like his photography at cons lately has been on point, man. He's got the sharpest photos from cons. I just steal the photos when I'm like, I need a picture of the Purple Gang. I go look at his and grab them, or, you know, whatever. But yeah, this came out
Thank
great.
you.
So,
because I always forget to take pictures.
I love that he's got Toyfinity's Mortal figures in there. John Kent, one of the Glyos makers, he makes those little dudes that are all over the display, his Mortals.
Okay.
And you can get some now. Yeah, that's awesome. A nice blending of his stuff and our stuff.
Very cool. And is that just spelled mortal like normal? Like
Yeah,
M-O-R-C-A-L?
it's like phonetic. Yeah, Mortals.
Okay.
Toyfinity's his Instagram. It looks like he like wrapped them up. Like,
yeah,
that's
what it looks like.
Yeah.
How did he do that?
Very cool.
Yeah.
Awesome. Anything else on this one, Jesse?
I like that it feels bright and like warm, not necessarily just like, I mean, obviously Egypt is warm, but like it doesn't have like that dried out, arid, you know, you like it feels like a living space. Obviously, you know, of antiquity and whatnot, but like this is a really cool setup and great shot. Yeah.
All right. We do have a super chat out there. You want to hit us with that, Jesse?
Yeah. Steph Orkin with the creature is dreamy to me and my girlfriend's teenage ghoul's very own heartthrob. Thanks, guys. Heart, lightning, heart emoji.
There you go.
I'm used to super chats and analog.
custom mummified.
Beautiful. Next one is one of Jesse's.
I can't remember if someone recommended this to me or if I came across this on my own. This is Camino_collectors with a K _. It's one of my favorites. Outdoor shots, when you get them in the right perspective and the figures feel like they're part of the environment they're in and not just a toy out in the field, is really cool. I'm not 100% sure what this is. I believe it's from Halo. But I love the real kind of silhouetted look. It looks like something from the beginning of the movie Outlander, which is kind of a retelling of Beowulf, but with sci-fi elements thrown into Viking society, which was kind of fun.
It's cool with the toy in here, but even without the toy, like just the fog coming up off the water, the clouds in the background, like this is just a beautiful shot of nature. And then you've also got this cool action figure in there, and then they, it looks like they added the lens flare on the weapon, and yeah, this is great.
Yeah, dude, cool. It's like you said, I love when you're able to take a figure and put it in nature and force the perspective so that it looks like it's in scale with the world. And I wish you could see more of the Halo Elite in there. That's the only issue I have. Otherwise, it's a super awesome picture with the mist in the background and everything. It feels like it's taken right from like the game.
Yeah,
cool,
very cool,
awesome.
Next is one of mine. This is Nerd Mythical on Instagram, and listen, folks. We say this about all these Instagram accounts. Like, if you're not following these people, follow them. Your Instagram feed is going to become much cooler. But this gentleman does so many pop and swaps that are just mind blowing. And this is one of those. Like, I saw this and I was like, just the idea to put all of these parts together in the way that he did, I wouldn't even fathom it. But it totally works for me. I love this thing.
I'm just trying to figure out how he's got, I guess he's using the back plug from the Okiedos or something to get the wings and the arms on there. But man, that it's such a cool combinations of the cosmic with the Monkey King and all the other parts that it feels like if alien life was involved in part of like an Asian culture, like in their artistry. Like, it is really cool. It's really impressive. This is awesome.
Yeah, it looks like some sort of like royalty on another planet or something. I don't know. He's just very cool.
What's actually like impressing me is that orb on the bottom by his feet is a 1,000 Toys Jomon Kugutu accessory, which is like a really expensive, like 1/6 scale figure. And it's just like so bizarre to see that accessory just thrown in with mythic stuff.
Yeah.
And I thought that was like his watermark or something.
No, that's the orb that the figure holds. It's like a Japanese artist collaborated with 1,000 Toys and came out with it. It's a really cool figure.
That's
if you've
cool.
never seen it before. That's a rad custom. I'm loving how all the pieces come together, and the fact that nothing's painted really. It's all pop and
yeah, he's got so many pop and swaps on his Instagram that are just wild, man. Just combos that you wouldn't even kind of think of. So next one's one of Jesse's.
This was recommended to me by our buddy Sig over at Area 51. I don't remember his Instagram at the moment. My brain's blank. Sig Enriquez. We had him on around this time last year, but this is _Thunderchild, which I believe is a new account to me. Again, photographing toys and making them look like they are to scale in the right environment. Like, you could have told me this was a behind the scene from like some new Endor documentary or something of like a National Geographic retelling of the Return of the Jedi as if it was a historical thing. Anyway, it just really cool. I love the burst, like the gun burst coming out of the walker there, and like the reflection on the cockpit of the there and everything, and just the troop. my words are failing me. The picture's awesome enough doing all the talking I need to. So I'll stop.
No, it's great. This is one that I wasn't following. So thank you, Jesse. They have now been followed by me. And yeah, this looks fantastic. Another one where you've kind of combined, nature and toys and made it look just great. You like you said, to scale. Love the effects with the guns there, and yeah, it just looks amazing. So great job.
I'm also now looking up their Instagram so I can follow them because that is awesome. I love the light effect they have coming out of the blaster. Totally brings it to life when you get that, the reflection off like that matte metal.
Yeah, the glow effect kind of. Yeah.
So good. Man, the sunlight peeking through. That's a great shot.
Yeah.
Next one is one of mine. This is Toy Immersion. Didn't mean to freak out Jesse. He's got a behind the scenes on this one where he actually took these little jars, like mixed some green paint with just some water to make it kind of murky, and then like shine these green lights out in from underneath of them and set up this whole display. Did a great job. I mean, some of these toy photographers put a lot of work into kind of setting up that one perfect shot. And it paid off here. Like it just looks great. It looks like it's something out of a movie. So
it does. I apologize to them for that reaction. It's not to your photo. It's just some of the subject matter in your photo. I've got the little NECA spider from the one, the Raphael is the monster from like the NECA monster turtle mashup ones. And I redid my raft display last weekend, and I saw the spider today, and I just about had a heart attack, even though I'm the one who put it where I saw it. It freaked me out. And that thing's like smaller than a penny. So yeah, this is a great shot. I don't know what figure that is. Is that a Hot Toys or something like a bigger scale figure?
I didn't think so. I thought it was like a Marvel Legends or something.
Okay, well, whatever it is.
I found his post, and it looks like it's a Mezco Spider-Man.
Oh, okay.
Gotcha. So it's still a smaller figure. So just the detail on that feels, like you said, Curtis, like something out of a movie. And this is fantastic, despite.
Yeah, but check out the behind the scenes when you guys get a chance, because it's pretty cool. I like seeing that stuff. So, yeah. Anything else on this one, Diego?
Yeah, you know what, the figure, like the fact that we couldn't guess what it was, I didn't know what scale it was. Like the detail looks amazing. I was like, is this 1/6 scale? Is this 6-inch scale? So just the fact that I have no idea how big the figure is based off the photo, it looks that realistic. Like they did a great job.
Yeah, and I knew that it was like 1/12 because I remember watching the behind the scenes, and when I looked at the picture at first, I'm kind of similar to you. I thought it was like a Hot Toy or something. I thought it was something much bigger and detailed. But he just really got in there, got a real close-up shot, and yeah, it looks great. So
that's awesome. Very cool.
One of Jesse's.
This is Toys Got Me. This is looks like a custom head on Dorina, and looks like a Sir Owain, and at least one of the is it Samir?
Yep.
No. Yeah. Samir's cape. He's got like the song Lady of the Lake, and it's just, I think it's just a really cool shot. The figures being out over the water. I'm not sure. It looks like she's actually coming out of the water, so I don't know if there's trick photography or manipulation going on here, or if it's just straight in the lens. Either way, it's really cool. The Lady in the Lake concept always been something that's been really cool. Would make a great figure Obscura sometime. Yeah, this is really cool.
That was very subtle, Jesse.
That's my middle name.
This is awesome. I just saw this photo for a quick second when you sent it to me to put it in the slides, and I didn't even catch the whole, Lady of the Lake and King Arthur and Merlin, kind of thing. That's awesome. I love this. It's a great concept and put it together very well, and yeah, I like this a lot.
I'm also a big fan of, just Arthurian fantasy and all that. And it's cool to see our figures being used to represent it. The Lady of the Lake, Arthur, Merlin. it looks like they gave a 3 staff to Samir for that one. But yeah, no, just putting them all together. And I really like that head that they put on the Dorina. It's a little small, but it looks cool.
Yeah. Not sure what it is, but it is just a slight bit smaller, but yeah, it looks great. This is one of mine. Obviously you guys have seen all the photos from the figure Obscura and stuff this weekend. But Trevor, if you haven't checked out his Instagram on 16shooter, he's been posting some of these black and white shots, kind of variants of the pictures that you've already seen. And this one to me was so freaking creepy cool. I absolutely loved it. I mean, I thought the shot like this with color was great. But when you put it in black and white and you see him kind of peering through this window, this looks like it's directly from a black and white movie, and it scares me. And at the same time, I love it. So kudos to Trevor. He always does a great job. But yeah, this black and white is amazing.
His shots are great. I read the book for the first time a couple of years ago, and I'll admit it was hard for me to get through it. Just because the language is so dense, and I could not stand the character of Victor, who is pretty much narrating the whole thing. But this scene, like, is, to me, this feels like the scene in the book where he's trying to get away from the creature for the first time, and it really evoked that. So especially with you guys, the Horsemen, doing the yellow tone to it, I thought was really cool. And like, again, this is exactly how I pictured it, but way better than my imagination. So
I was on Saturday Day Live yesterday with, and Jeremy was on there. He was kind of talking about this photo and said, you know, kind of in his mind, this is the moment in the book where he's convinced Victor to, you know, make a bride for himself, and he's just getting ready to do it. And then he changes his mind at the last second. And this is the moment that he sees that happen. Which I think is great. I mean, this picture just tells a story. And I absolutely love it. He just did a great job. So Diego.
Yeah. You know, Trevor just kills it every time. Whenever I'm getting listings and stuff ready for the site, and I'm filtering through it, I just am blown away. And to see like all the extra shots that he does, he's just phenomenal. And it just proves why we use him time and time again for our photography. He just knows how to manipulate the figure and the environment to bring such life to it. Yeah, it's great, and it evokes that old image of Frankenstein, that like Victorian sort of you know, feel to it, and encapsulates the time period perfectly.
Yeah, I want a kind of new black and white film with this design. So yeah, great job. And, you know, I've heard people say, like, if you would take, you know, you take Trevor's photos and maybe you take a little blue out of it and they'd be perfect. Who knew if you took out all the colors, it would be even better. So yeah, just great.
We love you, Trevor.
We love you, Trevor. This is one of Jesse's. Actually, spoiler alert, I picked this too, but I had to throw it out because you had picked it. But go ahead.
See, that's why I'm never worried about too much about picking something you're going to pick, unless it's characters you really like specifically. Because I know that if it's that cool, you probably already have it, and you probably have 3 other ones lined up. This is Articulated Times. And, you know, I think it said something to the effect of, like, even the most valiant knight must sometimes get a little brutal, or something like that, which kind of jumped out. And it is pretty brutal. And Jay, I don't know if you can correct me if I'm wrong. I thought on the bio for the skeleton too, that it said something, the only way to destroy them is to, like, completely, like, pulverize the bones or something. And it just seems like this valiant knight is taking that to heart, and he's just gonna, man, that just looks really uncomfortable, even though I know it's a skeleton. But yeah, the light coming from behind, you know, it's, you know, he's got his back to the light and he's, you know, facing into the darkness to destroy this thing. Amazing photo.
Yeah, I mean, you know, this is Steve. He, you know, Articulated Times on Instagram. He's got Articulated Empire online. He's now a approved retailer of Four Horsemen. Check out his website. He's got lots of great toys available on there. And he's also an amazing photographer and has been doing some great shots lately. We've had lots of photos this year with both the Valiant Knight and this skeleton. In my opinion, they're like the perfect 2 desk figures. They're sitting in front of me right now. Like they're just ones that you just want to play with and mess around with all day long. So seeing them together like this, and then you throw on top of it Master of Puppets playing in the background, like when you look at his Instagram, it's like, yeah, how could you not pick this for a shelf selection? So.
I love that it's like the battle of the 2 like individual releases that took the community by storm in the last 2 years. You know, the Valiant Knight fighting its kind of successor, the Skeleton Legion Builder 2. Both awesome figures. Both figures that I had to get a couple of each just for the building possibilities. I'm a huge fan of the skeletons. I have been since the first Kickstarter, and now that we have a full skeleton, I'm just so happy, and I'm glad everybody can play with them and appreciate them too. This picture's so metal, dude. Like, that glow in the background and choking out the or I guess wrangling the skeleton with the chain. That's awesome.
I'm sure you guys have seen a ton of pictures of these being used in different ways, but I'll just say, like, since that skeleton has come out, we have seen so many photos with it, not even just with Mythic Legions, but with different toy lines. Like, people are using them with all kinds of different toy lines, and it fits in perfect everywhere. So, yeah, I mean, it's a good front runner for figure of the year so far. We'll see. We still got Legions Con coming up, so we'll see.
We got 3 months.
Yeah.
In the office, we always say, you know, and by we I mean like 3 of us say, Skullman, the ZoloCon exclusive, that's figure of the year 2024 for us.
Yeah.
And it's only just me, George, and Cookie, I think, who say it, because we just love that figure.
It's great. It's a good one. But yeah, this one is just so versatile. So all right. Next one is another one of mine. And I'm not just kissing up, folks. All right. Like, listen, I know I love the Four Horsemen, but these are some great stuff. And to me, this is my favorite Nate Baertsch art that he's done. I've got his Hera on my wall. Before this, I thought that was his best work for me, my favorite. But this is now my new favorite. I just absolutely love this thing. The fact that they were able to, you know, because of all the different accessories and everything, that this had a bigger box and gave him this, you know, larger kind of canvas to work on, is awesome. And he just killed it. This thing is so good. I love the colors. I love the little, like, the villagers in the background with their torches. Just how aggressive he looks and everything. It's so good. So I had to message him, you know, right away and just say, man, Nate, you just absolutely crushed this, and great job. I'm definitely going to need this as a print, as a t-shirt, as a blanket, which, by the way, is available right now on Retro Rags Limited if you want a blanket of this photo. So, all right, there you go. I'm done gushing. Jesse.
I love it too. I think the Red Death is probably my favorite. Still.
That's my background on my computer right now.
But this, that's to say, all of Nate Baertsch's art. Dang it! Who said that?
Nate Baertsch art.
Thomas, because you said this, I got it in my head, and I'm very easily suggestible. All of Nate Baertsch's art is like less than the thickness of a sheet of paper away from each other. Like, it's just how you shuffle the deck the day you're thinking about them, I guess. But
yeah,
this one is fantastic. I love the colors. It evokes so much of the story, you know, just the loneliness and, you know, the separation from the rest of the world that the creature is feeling. And, you know, it does a really good job of putting a lot of that into this one image. And yeah, I can't wait to get it in hand. It's always fun looking at, especially the Figura boxes.
Yeah.
And you can, like, flip it around and look at all the stuff on the inside and the insert in the box and just find all those fun little Easter eggs in there. Yeah.
And just one more note, I did pull this up from the Four Horsemen Instagram. So _Horsemen Studios. Nate did not have it up on his Instagram, but Nate Baertsch on Instagram, check out his for some amazing work as well. But he did not have this shot on there, so I pulled it from the Four Horsemen. So, Diego, your thoughts on when you first saw this?
Well, what blows me away the most with this packaging isn't even the front; it's everything else. Like, if you look, he's got all these like notes and medical drawings. It's all over the packaging, and Nate did all that. Like, he hand draws like every aspect of it. So
That's
like
so
all
cool.
these like medical diagrams and the script and all that, that's all Nate. And
So
that's what blows me away.
if anyone's going to go Kaiser Soze from the studio, it's Nate, and that's who we need to be worried about.
Well, you know what? At least Nate works remotely, so we don't have to worry.
Well, we are all headed to Legion's Con in a couple
That's
or
true.
many of us are headed there in a couple of weeks.
And then obviously here's the inside of the cover. The beautiful diorama. I was talking to you guys before that I'm setting up my shelves in here, and I thought I had a plan, but now I've been thinking of they're all shitty right now. I don't know if you can say that. All bad right now. But I thought about doing like just all my Figura figures. Over here is all the Cosmic that's come out so far. And I was like, I should do a Figura display with all the backdrops, but I don't know. Nate makes it tempting with his beautiful artwork for the backgrounds.
I actually thought of that yesterday. Like typically I have done where like the Halloween ones I'll bring out at Halloween time, the Christmas ones I'll bring out at Christmas, and then the other ones I try to find a faction that I can kind of shove them into. But yesterday when this dropped, I was like, man, I really need to set up like an entire DTOF where it's just the Figura stuff. Like it's become like its own separate line that is just very cool standalone. Yeah, super awesome. And
for sure,
I'm sure we're going to talk about it, but just the whole weekend is just, it's an adrenaline rush. But yeah, we'll get into that in a bit. Let's Jesse's got one more on here. So there you go.
So this is art by David Williams. Some of you might know who that guy is. Originally saw this posted by Matthew Rodriguez through his Defenders of Eden or Ideas. I can't remember which one he posted it with, but since David was the one that painted this, Matt said he sent out a couple of the blanks because he really loves the creative process and wanted to see some artists work up with some of the blanks that we'll be getting from the Kickstarter for his Defenders of Eden that the Four Horsemen sculpted and I don't know if I'm using the right word, designed or engineered. And so this was David's take on one of the Triceratops figures, and it just absolutely would never have thought to paint one just brown, because I think furry creatures. But like seeing it on this dinosaur is amazing, and it's just so cool. It makes me excited to get the blank I've got coming to do some fun stuff with.
Yeah, so I'll get into this this custom and the picture in a second, but I wanted to touch a little bit because Jesse kind of stumbled a little bit over there at the beginning, and there's good reason for that, because it's Matt Rodriguez who has Ideas from Mars, which is producing Defenders of Eden, and a subline of that is the Armies of Ashmore. So if you get confused, it's not your problem. All right, it's Matt having 15 different names for the stuff that he's doing. But that all being said, this looks amazing. David killed it. He did a great job. And I think it's a very smart idea on Matt's part to send this to David and have him work on it, because this really shows what you can do with those blanks. And yeah, just crushed it. Speaking of which, this Friday on Let's Go Offworld channel, we will have Matthew Rodriguez. We've got a few topics that we're going to discuss, but he's also going to be showing us in-hand looks at the finished products of the Armies of Ashmore. So tune in. Let's Go Offworld this Friday. Diego, thoughts on this?
I love seeing it in those darker, like earth tones, those natural tones, because a lot of the other figures are, bright and vibrant, and honestly, like this appeals to my personal tastes way more. Like, you know, that bone color in the weapons, the natural brown tones of it. Like, you don't normally see dinosaur toys, like you said, like in these darker brown tones. It's maybe Dave's Great Beast Studios has some stuff like that, but yeah, no, it's really cool to see. Yeah, I love it. That's great. I kind of wish like there were more figures like that from the actual line.
It shows you kind of what a paint job can do to change the dynamic. I mean, obviously Matt has a certain aesthetic that he was trying to go for with his line, based on the comic book and stuff. But if you wanted to take it a different way and make them, you know, hyper realistic and, you know, kind of made them more natural tones and stuff, you know, yeah, you could do something like this. So,
and that's another thing I'll throw on here. Like, I know a lot of people like to say, you know, fits with mythics, fits with cosmic, whatever. I think with these, since the horsemen were so in hand design in the sculpting and the process of it, the right paint job like this, I think this could go on your Armies of Ashmore or your Mythic Legion shelf without blinking an eye. And
yeah,
like, yeah.
I mean, I would initially, my plan with the, you know, the actual figures that are coming, you know, painted in the normal, the colors that he intends. I was thinking it would be great to just kind of stick in with Cosmic Legions. That's still my plan. But seeing this paint job tells me, hey, you could actually go with Mythic Legion too, depending on how you paint it. So, yeah, just great job. And so excited to get those figures in hand. That's going to be awesome. So
very excited.
Yeah. Totally.
And that is it for shelf selections for tonight.
Jordan said he's going to paint his blank one in human flesh tones. I'm so uncomfortable right now.
Okay. I mean, that's a way to do it. So
very cool. Well, now I'm just thinking about all the dinosaurs from Jurassic Park being like human skin tones, and I'm disturbed.
Well, let me get this started off then.
Thank you.
So Diego, you know, we kind of have to start with this past weekend and kind of what the experience is like for you. So, you know, we know what it is on our side. You know, there's a teaser kind of dropped on Friday. Everybody makes their guesses. This one was a little bit more on the nose. I think a lot of people kind of guessed this one. It wasn't as hard to kind of figure out. But then, you know, Saturday, the sale drops, everybody rushes in, gets their order, and then they try to figure out what the heck they just purchased because they were just trying to check out so quick. You know, then we watch Dorklayer's review, and it's just like this whole thing. And then within like a couple weeks, we've got these figures in hand. So it's just like this shot of adrenaline to the collector. But for you, for your side, tell us a little bit about the experience, you know, from, you know, kind of knowing of its creation to the actual weekend itself.
Well, it's a long process because Eric probably had the first initial sculpts of this not long after Legion's Con last year, probably. That's how early like we start with it. And yeah. You know, just seeing test shots come in. I try to sit down with Chris and go over potential QC issues and areas that need to be adjusted to avoid breakages and stuff. But, you know, seeing it from print to paint master to unpainted test shots that we're playing around with to finally getting like the real thing in hand. You know, I'm just glad it's out in the world and I can talk about it because that's the biggest thing is, you know, we're so used to talking about it day to day in the studio that you're like, I can't mention this to the world until it's out there. But now, you know, once we get closer to the sale date, I'm busy doing the back end, getting all the listings ready, the shipping stuff set up. And as you guys can see, I'm in my office right now because I decided we had the show today and I was like, you know, it's a good reason to come in, do customer service, and then start printing labels because I have to do that first. And I managed to get one batch done before we started. So here's a stack of labels right here.
Nice.
And
Ready.
just want to remind everybody that Jeremy did post, for anyone that maybe didn't see it, read all the way through it, that he predicted it might take up to 3 to 4 weeks for them to complete shipping. That doesn't mean for everyone to have all theirs in hand, but that's for them to get out the door from.
Yeah.
Does that still sound about right to you?
Yeah, it's a lot of orders that came in. And you know, we always try to like expedite the process by doing some pre-boxing beforehand, like, you know, a lot of singles and stuff, just so we can get stuff out to you guys as soon as possible. In this situation, we didn't pre-box as much because, as you guys can see, we have other stuff on the site. And this is the first time we're doing a Figura drop while we have other items up for sale. So we didn't really know how many people were going to get just a Frankenstein or a Frankenstein plus something else. So we didn't want to make too many singles and kind of do extra work that isn't needed. Trust me, we're going to send out all those singles after looking at the numbers.
Yeah.
So it's definitely going to take a little while. It's going to take a couple of weeks because, again, we have a really small team. We do everything in-house. We've got a couple like full-time warehouse guys at this point, but still, you know, it's just on a good day. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, like 5 to 6 guys on a good day, all packing stuff up. Some days it could be 2 people, you know, depending on workers' availability. So we're doing our damnedest to get stuff out to you. I'm here on a Sunday printing labels so that tomorrow morning they're slapping labels on boxes and packing more. Yeah, we're trying to get it out to you guys.
That's awesome.
Well, and as a huge thank you from myself, I'm going to speak for Curtis and as many of the community as agree with me, which hopefully is a lot of them. Thank you to you and everybody at Four Horsemen, especially the shipping guys, you know, who are a lot of times just behind the scenes and you know, so thank you to all of them, especially when it's hot and nasty weather or super cold weather and they're dealing with that. So we do genuinely really appreciate it because this is fun. It's work for you guys and hopefully it's fun for you too, but you know, thank you.
We've got a couple things here. Dorklayer says, I can imagine having all the other in-stock items available will add complexity to this one. And then followed it up by saying he made your job tougher by adding 4 builders to his order. So, and then Rob asked, do you do batch shipments by importing a CSV file into whatever shipment manager you use?
So I understand all that jargon he just said.
That makes fun of us.
I don't import CSV files. I used to back when Four Horsemen had a different platform for their web store, like the Aether Wave, Equidron, all that. I had to do through CSVs are spreadsheets basically. Yeah. I'd have to export a spreadsheet and import it into our shipping software. But luckily, the shipping software we use imports directly from our store, so the orders go directly there. Makes it a lot easier to get things done. So it's a more painless process than doing CSVs.
Awesome.
I'm surprised I got such a technical question.
We've got a very smart audience. This is kind of a highbrow show.
Well, our audience is. I don't know if we are.
So obviously, Four Horsemen Studios is a very like collaborative place. A lot of teamwork. You know, going into it. If for those of you out there that have been to intern, or if you're ever going to intern, you'll see like when you're there, it's just it's an environment that's conducive to people like throwing out their own ideas and working together. It's not just like Eric saying, this is what I need everybody to do, and then they go do it, you know? But I think for Figure Obscura, it seems like it's on display for us to see more than with anything else, you know, because we get to see like the research that Nate did and all that went into his artwork. You know, all the different posing and stuff that Trevor did, the write-up that Jeremy does, the paint work that is done. And my understanding is this one was done by Cameron, the Frankenstein. And just see all of it come together. And then the review by Dorklayer. And it's just like this whole team effort to make that like 2 days spectacular from Friday to Saturday. Can you talk about what it is to like work in an environment like that is just so much everybody working together towards one goal?
It's really great, actually. Working here is truly a breath of fresh air in this world, where a lot of people get, put into specific positions. Like, this is your job. This is it. That's all you have to say in.
Yeah, you
here,
specialize in this one function, and that's what we want you to do.
Yeah. Here, everyone is super welcoming to, talking about the process, little things that could make it better. For this release in particular, I'm trying to think if there was anything, because Eric's a genius. And I'm not saying that just because he's my boss. I'm saying it because, dude, like, the guy sculpted the figures I grew up with. Like, it's crazy to me that I work for these guys. And he's just a master of his craft. And there's not really much that you can tell Eric that he doesn't already take into consideration. But like, when it comes to, certain design things, like I mentioned, talking with Chris about QC-ish possible issues. There was a part in the Necronominus wave that we were talking about that I was like, I don't like how that part is. Can we change it? And we got the factory to change it. It's really cool to have your opinions, acknowledged and validated. And everyone feels like they're bringing something to the table for sure. Everybody.
Yeah, it's so cool. I mean, I know, Jesse and I have both been to intern, and we've had, conversations with Cameron and Sherry. I know one of the things that Cameron told us was that, he'll get like this printout, I guess, from Eric on kind of what the figure is going to look like and stuff. And a lot of times he'll add color to it on kind of what he envisions for it. But then, Cameron has also told us, though, if I feel like it may look better a different way, I'll present that to him, and 9 times out of 10, he's going to go, yeah, that sounds great. Let's go for it. So, it's just cool that, that you guys are in an environment like that, the door is open for you guys to be creative and have those thoughts and ideas and stuff. So very cool.
Well, like I said, Eric is this is what makes Eric such a great dude. Not only is he a master at what he does, he's super approachable and humble, and he could easily say, I know what I'm talking about. Like, you don't have to, and the figure will be just as good, but no, he's just a great, kind dude, who will listen to your ideas. And, that's just, what makes him a great guy, on top of his phenomenal talent.
Awesome. Well, take us through the day in the life of Diego. Like, normal day, like what kind of stuff are you dealing with from start to finish? Like what things do you have your hands in?
Well, I do the less fun aspects of the business. I typically, I get into the office, start off with doing customer service emails. Sometimes I have help with that with one of my buddies who's working here now, but right now he's full steam ahead on helping with everything you'll see in November.
Okay.
But so right now I'm flying solo. So I do customer service. I'll go through obviously emails and stuff. I also do a lot of stuff with the retailers. So I take retailer payments, record them, create their shipments, send that out. I'll print, now that we have stuff in stock on the store all the time, I print pick lists for the warehouse guys, give them their labels and make sure that stuff's going. I have calls with different companies that have different services to see if it's beneficial for us and the customers, you guys, to go with different avenues. I've changed the shipping calculator several times. On Shopify or on Four Horsemen, so that we can get you guys like the best rates we possibly can, because I know that's been something that people are always dying for.
Which, by the way, the flat rate shipping you know, sorry for anybody that's watching that's overseas, but for us in the US, the flat rate shipping is awesome.
And I don't hold me to this, but we are trying to look for something in the international realm for that. Still looking at it because obviously international shipping is really expensive.
Yeah.
And that's, I can only do so much for you guys.
Right.
Like, you know, we import those rates. Uncle Bob, my buddy, love that guy. All my retailers are great, but I love when Uncle Bob comes through and visits. We always have great conversations when he's here.
If you ever come through and visit Uncle Bob's, hit me up because I'm only like 5 minutes away.
Jesse, what time do you? Or well, I don't know if you want to say that on live.
No, I'm fine. I'm in Mechanicsburg, PA, and
okay.
So his shop. It's probably a little more than 5 minutes, but yeah, he's like 2 towns over. So.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah,
very cool.
I live between him. Well, I won't say that. I won't say that on here. That's not for me to say. Well, I've said it before. I live between his home and his shop. So.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, Uncle Bob's an awesome guy. Back in I remember in at ZoloCon this past year, I was hurting real bad from a car accident, and like Bob was like, "What can I do to help you, buddy? Like you're hurting." And I was like, you know, just the fact that he took the concern to help me out, like that was awesome.
I noticed as you were going through like all of the job duties that you have and stuff, you didn't put in there like kind of babysitting Chris. So, and that seems like that takes up quite a bit of your time.
Well, you know, halfway through the day, there comes the point where either I go to Chris's office or Chris goes to my office where we go, "What are you doing for lunch?" And we try and figure out, we're like each other's like girlfriend. Like we're like, "No, you pick what we're going to eat." What do you want for lunch? But you know, Chris and Chris is, you know, one of the main reasons I'm working here. Because we used to work with each other back at NECA, and he was just as crazy then as he is now. So I already knew what I was getting into.
That's not a new thing.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
But Chris wrangling is a art in itself. But you know, if you can endure the whistles and the giggles throughout the day, he's not that bad to work with.
That's good.
Whistles are hard. I'll flat out admit that whistles are hard for me to deal with.
Yeah,
if they're like whistling a tune, that kind of thing.
So
yeah, he there I think there was one day that like he wasn't in the office and we didn't think he was gonna come in, and I heard whistling and I'm like, "What?" And I like ran out my door and I looked, and I think it was like Joe or something. I'm like, "I thought Chris was here," and he just started laughing.
That's funny.
Oh my gosh, Andy, no. Give Chris Red Bulls at Legion's Con.
No, that's not a good idea.
You can't. Chris actually doesn't drink caffeine that much.
Okay.
That's him off of caffeine.
But yeah, like if he needs a boost, he'll get a half calf coffee. Like that's him needing a boost. Like you don't want to put him on full caffeine, he'll explode.
That's man. Awesome. I had a side note, completely unrelated story, but I have to tell it because it's in my brain and it's gonna drive me nuts. I was at a friend's wedding. We were staying at the hotel, and me and the guys that were there for our friend that was getting married. My friend Matt sits down next to me and he's eating a bowl of cereal and he starts he's like really shaky and twitchy. I'm like, "Dude, he's like, yeah." He's like, what's in half and half?" And I was like, "I don't know, man." I was like, "It's part creamer, I think." And he's like, "Oh, okay." And he's eating like sugar cereal and he's like, he just got all ramped up just from half and half in cereal. So I can't imagine. And he's not normally a hyper guy, so that was wild. Anyway, sorry. Can move on now.
That's funny. So this time of year has got to be crazy for you. I mean, I remember, you know, eons ago, I worked in retail and we, you know, going up to like Black Friday, that was like our Super Bowl. And obviously you guys are coming into Legion's Con time period. And so you've got, you know, retailer orders on the water right now. You've got a new figure Obscura. You've got stuff in stock. You've got, you know, G-Con coming up. You've now announced this Armory experience, Legion's Con. Necronominus should be in soon. You got All-Star 6 that should be, you know, on its way. It feels like it would be a crazy time there. How do you manage with all of that stuff going on and make sure that you keep it all in order?
Well, I've years of experience of dealing with craziness all at once. So I'm a little prepared. I've worked at other toy companies and stuff, so it's prepped me. All my years of my skill tree from leveling up over the years.
Yeah,
I'm spec'd for this environment. But it is getting into a crazy time. Once it gets to when we have a lot of things shipping out at once, that's when I'm the craziest.
Mm-hmm.
So like the beginning of this year was like super nuts for me because we had Poxus come in, retailer wave, like Blue Hagnon and Ligier came in. Then we had that massive in-stock sale. Then we had the mystery boxes. Then we had Figura Obscura drop. I think we might have had then we had Outpost Zaxius. And that was like back to back to back to back to back to back to back. So that was super crazy for me. And the way I got it done was, it took a while for people to get their replacement parts. That's okay. That was the thing that fell to the wayside. Right now it's not too bad, but it's it can get crazy. But I got a great team. Like, I work with Cookie mostly. And the other shipping guys, Vern, Dustin, all them, and Greg once a week when he brings in the sweet Portuguese rolls. And Cookie's like, we're my right-hand man. Like he gets what needs to get done. He's doing a great job keeping the warehouse organized and put in a really efficient way.
Well, that was another thing I was going to ask you about, because I know I've had conversations with some folks there and stuff that you guys share a lot of that warehouse space with BB Props. And so in the past, it was kind of like, if a wave was going to come in, you actually didn't know where you were going to pick that wave because you didn't know what space was going to be allocated to you. But now you've got some stuff that is in stock on the website all the time. So how has that worked for you guys? Have you been able to kind of make some sort of space that's like your space that kind of stays consistent, or are you still kind of like bouncing around?
We have a couple locations in the warehouse that we've pretty concretely secured as ours. And that's really helped. All the in-stock sales help a lot too, obviously, clearing up space on shelves, getting room for what's coming in. We're good right now. I'm probably last year and at the beginning of this year, a big conversation was, where are we putting this next container? Like that was always a concern. Where are we putting this next container? And trying to figure out what we can move and condense and put where we need to. And I feel like now we're at a spot where it's pretty good. I'm a little worried about maybe the next 2 containers, but with how everyone's done with Frankenstein, everybody's loving it. That's definitely going to clear some space that I'm always worried about. But Cookie's, like I said, like he's organized everything in such a great way. He does a great job, and I would go crazy without him.
Awesome. Yeah,
cool.
It seems like in the past, like you guys have had, a lot of either part-time shipping people or people that have worn multiple hats, because you don't know, like there's times where you would be shipping stuff and then there would be nothing for a bit. And then you'd be shipping stuff and there'd be nothing. But like you had said, like this year it's been kind of like boom, 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 boom. And has that kind of helped as far as your staffing goes, just making sure that, you're able to kind of keep work for these folks and keeping them going throughout the year?
Well, that's always like a huge concern. We, like I said, we have Cookie as a full-time shipping manager, but we also have another full-time guy, Dustin, who's a buddy of mine that's working here, and that's kind of the most we can have full-time right now, because we do have slow times. Like right now for the shipping, it's just whatever in-stock stuff's coming in, and it's not enough for like 5 guys to be working full-time,
Right.
Now I'm
and also
hungry.
we're a small company. Like people really fail to I think realize how small we are. There's like definitely less than 20 of us altogether.
Right.
So, we're all making this work, and we're growing at a responsible rate. You don't want to expand too quickly, because we saw that a lot in the pandemic. Like a lot of companies, they downsized real quick because everything was shutting down, but then realized, oh, we're getting tons of business, we got to expand really quick. And then now that things are shrinking again, now they're slimming down again. And we're just trying to make sure people we bring on, we're bringing on,
Yeah. Yeah, I know. I had a conversation with Cornboy, not this past MesquiteCon, but the year before. And he said kind of one of his biggest worries was he didn't want to become like Funko Pops. Like he didn't want to be this thing that just blows up overnight and is so popular and then it just kind of fizzles out. Like steady growth, kind of what you're saying.
Yeah. And, the Horsemen have been in this business forever, Jim, Eric, CB, like the three of them know what they're doing and they know what they're talking about. They're responsible business owners, in my opinion. They want to make sure people are taken care of. Just as a testament, I remember when Jim and I were talking about me being full time, because I was working part time for the Horsemen for like almost 2 years, I think, before I was full time, and Jim being like, "Hey, at this point, I'm bringing you on full time. Your bills are my bills, like that's how I'm seeing it." And
that's awesome.
That's, those are the kind of people you want to work for. So that's why I'm here.
Where's the application to work there?
Well, if I understand Cameron right, you just have to be at Dunkin' Donuts at the right time, and then Mancuso will just bring you over. So,
walkies is a time honored, part of the day. 3 o'clock rolls around, and usually Sherry or Bill will walk at my door and peek their head in and be like, "Walkies," and it's like, "All right, time to get coffee."
There you go.
Awesome. Oh man, go ahead, Curtis.
No, you're good.
No, we're talking a lot about Horsemen and your work.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Sorry, my beard is falling apart in my mouth. We know you're into a lot of other stuff as well, so we want to dive into a little bit of that as well, and we'll circle back to Legions Con stuff if that's cool. I think I've had this conversation briefly with you. We talked a little bit about like you came out at G-Con last year, like fully decked out in garb. Yeah. And I'm not too proud to admit I stole your body to make our Joe as our DM for our campaign graphic for Legion's Quest. I just put Joe's head on it because I only have a picture of Joe's head. Like there's no other pictures of Joe Gonzalez besides his head. And I was like, that if I tweak that a little bit, I can make that look like kind of like a wizardy DM looking character. So you're with us in spirit at all of those sessions. But
can you throw up the picture on the stream? I don't know if that's too much to ask for.
No, I don't know if I have it on.
Can you switch at the top? Let me see. Can you do that?
Yeah, it'll totally change our
That's
whole
fine,
thing. So currently, yeah.
There you go.
Oh. I see it.
So that's you with a Joe head.
All right.
And I think I dropped out the horn.
Yeah.
And the shield. But yeah. Yeah. So feel free to send me a cease and desist if you need me to. But I was just looking through pictures and that was the first thing I saw that was like even remotely close to what I was imagining. So I'm like, I'm just gonna steal Diego's body.
Real quick, little plug for Legion's Quest. For any of you that don't know what that is that Jesse just pulled up, we are running a D&D campaign set in Mythos. It is on the Let's Go OffWorld YouTube channel. It's also available in audio format on, whether it's Spotify, Apple, anything that you can get podcast on, basically. So,
and if it's not, let me know. I'll get it there.
Yeah, we're about 7 episodes in, and
we're 7 episodes in.
Yeah. So we're, Jesse's very experienced. Joe is very experienced. Me, Trevor, Nate are not. So you can kind of hear some of that as we, grow and learn each other's kind of patterns and get used to D&D. So if you've ever want to try it or you enjoy it, give it a try. You may enjoy it. So there you go.
I guess you guys are playing 5th edition.
I think it's largely, but because we're using D&D Beyond to run the maps and stuff. But I homebrewed. I'm playing a Fuzz Monk, so I homebrewed the Fuzz Monk and Swale goblins. Basically modified halfling stats. Okay. And drops. Gave the Fuzz Monks the instead of lucky, they have feign death. So they can play dead like a possum. And the Swale goblins, I dropped that and gave them Stink Cloud as a once a day effect.
And then Nate's playing a Minotaur. Trevor is playing a Frost Elf, I believe. Right.
Yep.
And then I'm playing a half orc. So
very cool.
Yeah, it's been fun. So as of the last episode, we were getting ready to fight a bunch of goblins for a sword. So if you want to hear about that, we should be doing another episode this week. So
well, that is a good point, because I'll circle back to this, because I know you guys are playing some stuff there at the studio. But before we get into that, I wanted to ask about you've done I don't know if it's the same. You've done SCA stuff?
I have. I've done a little
similar.
Bit of SCA. Yeah, I've done. Let me show you the helmet I was going to come out to at Legion's Con, but I decided not to.
Well, he's getting it. For folks who don't know, SCA is the Society for Creative Anachronism, where people do research
I was gonna walk out with this helmet on, but I decided not to, because it's a pain in the ass with the full Aventail and all that, and also I have to take off my glasses to put it on. But it was backstage at Legion's Con, ready for me to.
Wow, that is awesome!
Wow,
so, this is
that's incredible.
Yeah,
that is so cool.
And then I have an eclectic collection of helmets behind me somewhere.
Very cool.
Let me see them. But I did SCA for a little while. I've done a lot of LARP and all that stuff. There's a big game in Canada I used to go to regularly called Bickeline, which is a week-long medieval Burning Man, basically.
Okay.
And then we also fight. And
my oldest brother did that stuff, and I got to go with him on a couple events. Never any of the big long ones, but so for folks who don't know, the SCA, they do historical recreation of the armor and the clothes. They try to make it as historically accurate as possible. The fighting styles they base off of texts and manuals for how to fight and everything. Now they don't use actual swords. They'll use
slightly less death. Yeah.
They'll use rattan, or at least that's what they were using when my brother was doing it, wrapped in foam and tape. And depending on the color of electrical tape that ran along it, it was either a spike or a blade, or, and if you got chopped down in battle, you laid on the battlefield until they ended the session, and then they would drag you off like a corpse. You
got to watch out in the SCA. When you die, they teach you the proper way to lay down and die. 'Cause the SCA's made of big mooks, dude. Real big dudes are in the SCA, and if one of them steps on your ankles, you're effed.
Oh boy.
You have to make sure you're lying in a very specific way, or you could end up real hurt. There's a couple different activities or groups that medieval reenactment or a reenactment adjacent stuff. The SCA is definitely one version. Their combat is, they do some stuff based off historical, but it's, it's different because they're wielding rattan bats essentially,
right.
Which moves a lot differently than a sword. And then, You have HEMA, which is more of a based off of a lot of the manuscripts, more in depth, and they use blunted weapons usually.
Oh wow!
And it's closer to fencing in a lot of ways with HEMA, with the equipment that they wear and all that. And then you have the ACL, the Armored Combat League, which that's the stuff you see in like the Octagon, where like guys with like real steel weapons are beating the ever living crap out of each other, and you're fully armored, and that's brutal. I haven't taken a jaunt into that because I know myself, and I know that it's just asking to get hurt. And then you have LARP, which is, you know, obviously there's all different types of LARP. Some are more historical, some high fantasy, and it's foam weapons typically, all different types of fighting systems. But it's definitely chill and has a lower bar of entry than SCA or ACL or HEMA. I would like to do HEMA, though. That's something I would like to take into the experience. And then there's full-on reenactment. Reenactment is like as historical as you can get. Like, people do everything strictly off of finds. They'll hand make everything. Literally take wool and spin it to make yarn, to then take that yarn and sew something. Like that's the most hardcore in terms of in terms of commitment, I would say. You'll spend more time making things than fighting, but yeah, the reenactment guys get mad props. They're awesome.
I think
awesome. I mean,
that
I was just gonna say, you coming out at G-Con last year was a highlight, I think, for everybody. It was just super cool. Yeah.
My oldest brother being in the SC, I think he took that mentality to his research because he is actually back at a university as a history professor.
That's awesome.
And medieval stuff is his favorite stuff to teach, to the point where he put on chainmail that he made in class. He didn't make it in class. I was in his class, and I got to hit him with a sword as a demonstration to the class. I went to swing it back, and he's like, whoa, this is just a demonstration. Like, don't take out your 20 years of frustration at me as your brother. But all that to say, because now I'm going to turn this back to toys. I know Eric said, and Jeremy said during G-Con last year, you had some input on some of the horns and the weapons and stuff. And I love the fantasy side of the Mythic Legions. I like that, but I also love seeing some of that more realistic weapon designs getting interjected into it. And, stuff that's like more proper scale, like the war picks and those kinds of things. So how can you tell us a little bit about that situation? Like,
well,
did you get asked? Did you just offer it, or
a little column A, column B? The moment I heard that we were doing something Viking-esque, I was like, really? And I came in with like bags of stuff. Like, I brought in garb, I brought in armor, I brought in, jewelry, accessories, everything I had, because that's the majority of my medieval kit is Viking age.
okay.
Stuff. So, and also to show Eric, this is what like this textile kind of looks like. This is a common pattern you would find in like, Viking cultures, like a herringbone pattern, or, really like nerdy, like minutia. But I agree that I'm excited to see more historically scaled weapons. That was when I was a fan of the line when the first Kickstarter came out. That was one of the things I kind of wished. I was like, I kind of wish the weapons looked a little more realistic than so toy-like, And
nothing against like the old library parts, but like you look at like the old daggers that were like, huge, fat, and then the new daggers that we've gotten with some figures, it's like night and day, So yeah, very cool.
I don't usually would take this big of a leap and say if I could make a suggestion, because I know it's just some dork on a YouTube channel throwing this out there. But it's unique. It's probably too boring, but an addle would be incredible.
Can you say that again?
Yeah, explain.
The addle. It's like the original projectile weapon. You ever see those like
like
arms?
the with the spears.
It's like it's like the stick that you throw the ball with for your dog. It's like that, but it would chuck like a short spear.
Yeah. That it had a notch that you could get like further distance. That is an obscure weapon to. I can't guarantee that, but
no, of course not.
I have no idea what you're talking about. You'll have to show me later. So
no. I totally know. Yeah. Okay.
Because that's in my mind, and I always tie it to Viking stuff, because when I learned about that, I believe was through the book Eaters of the Dead. I don't know if you've ever read that, but if you've seen the movie 13th Warrior, the Michael Crichton movie, it's the book that inspired that movie. And that whole book is very deep into like the anthropology of the Viking culture. And it basically turns into the Beowulf story. But yeah, I just always thought that was a really cool weapon, and I would love to see that as an action figure accessory, along with a satchel. Curtis,
yeah,
you do it.
Yeah, you've got plenty of satchels now. Yeah, your buddy Shui is got a satchel, I think. So, so all right. So without giving anything away, do you have something planned for this year? Like without telling us what it might be, but is there a plan for G-Con?
Well, that all depends if Jeremy asks me to come up and do a presentation bit. Which last year, like nobody knew I was doing that. Like,
gotcha.
They were like Jeremy's like, hey, do you want to come up and talk during G-Con? And I was like, oh yeah, sure, I'll go. He's like, okay, do you want to come up for the dwarves or the Vikings? I was like, I'll come up for the Vikings. He's like, okay, all right. And I was like, I think I got an idea. And they're like, well, what? Don't worry about it. Like, and I showed up, got dressed. Jim was like cracking up backstage, like he's going to become like fully decked and just lost it. And I don't know if I mentioned this on a show, but the horn that I blew before I went out.
Mm-hmm.
I was like super thirsty right beforehand. My mouth was so dry, and I was like, "Oh my god, I can't mess this up! Like I have to nail it the first take." And luckily, I nailed it. Like,
oh yeah, it was great.
That was great.
Yeah,
I hadn't heard a horn like that in person since the Lord of the Rings trilogy Tuesday, where they showed the first two movies extended cuts and they premiered the Return of the King. So that was a long day, but some guy in line like every 15 minutes before the movie started, or 30 minutes, would just like blow into his horn and just like shout out like "Whoa!" and everybody would just start cheering. It was awesome. So you doing that sounded great, and it brought back a lot of nostalgia to that moment with my brother. So
Steph
different
says
brother.
It was the perfect show and tell to demo your authentic garb. Speaking of Stephanie Orkin, she has something that is in common with you, which is a little line called Glyos. So at this point, I'm going to ask you, because I've not dipped my toes into Glyos. All right. So I'm going to ask you to boom enable me and tell me why someone like myself should check out Glyos at Legion's Con and jump in.
The reason why you should check out Glyos is Glyos toys, to me, fully embody the spirit of a toy. They're fun, they're super playable, and it scratches that itch of when you were a kid and you would, all us customizers, now like started out with taking parts from different toys, like unscrewing the screw on the back of a G.I. Joe and swapping the legs and arms. This has all of that energy and all that playability that we wanted back then, and takes it to a whole new level. The fact that I can take two wildly different styled figures, we've got Toy Pizza's recent Sea of Daggers figure right here, and then the God Beast. This is the one of the Zoloid figures he just came out with. That I can just rip off the head of one and stick it on another, no problem. Like, it's just fun, and it playing with them, you really see how Mythic Legions is the spirit of this.
Mm-hmm.
I when I was a kid, I loved toys like Z-Bots, and we all liked Battle Beasts and all that, and all those toys that you just G.I. Joes you just keep in your pocket and pull out, and they're all scraped up and stuff. But that's what Glyos figures really like invokes in me, is that feeling of those older toy lines, but then with something a little extra. And all of these are made by super talented and awesome guys. Every not the I'm not talking bad about like any of the big companies or anything, but Glyos figures are a little more expensive, but like that money I'm giving is going right to the person who made it, right to the person who designed it, and giving them the ability to create more. It's it's helping people like us, people that were passionate about toys and maybe customize and all that, who are doing it on their own, and it's a great toy line. They're fun.
I wanted to ask another, like, a follow-up question. So you had mentioned pizza slicer, is that right?
Toy pizza.
Okay, so you've mentioned and I know there's like, it's not just one company that's putting these things out. There's like a lot of people that have hands in creating these things, right?
Mm-hmm.
How does all that work? How does this thing come together?
So you've got the father of Glyos, Matt Dowdy, who is one of the kindest souls I have ever met, and you can talk to him forever about just toys in general, like or life. He's a fascinating guy. And Matt invented the Glyos system, and basically, if you want to make a Glyos figure, you got to meet Matt, and he's got to make sure you're cool. And if he thinks you're cool, like he'll let you do a Glyos figure, and he'll help you produce it and take you every step of the way. And he's a guy that knows what he's doing. He just knows toys.
So like, people come up with the ideas, they run it by him. He helps them to make it to where it's adaptable to that system, so that it'll interchange with the other things that they're doing. And then what? You buy them directly from those people, or you buy them from Matt, or how does obviously, if we go to Legions Con and there's a table, you can just pick them up from the table. But how does one go about buying these throughout the year?
So there's a bunch of different creators, and they have all their own sites and stores. Matt has his own Onel Design. That's the OG Glyos line. You've got Faden and the Travelers. Those are the iconic Glyos figures. You got Krabops, which are these little dudes. And that's all Matt stuff. But then you've got a ton of other people who have their own style and their own take, and bring something new, but makes a compatible. They're all cross compatible, which is amazing. It's like if you had Playmates Turtles and they were compatible with like Marvel Legends. Like, it sounds bizarre, but like,
right.
You start mixing parts up, and you're like, oh wow, I made something kind of cool out of this. But yeah, you've got the God Beast, Marty. He's an awesome guy. You've got Cappy, who just did a drop this week. Toy Pizza, like I mentioned. You've got Biomasters. You've got Jesse Moore with Calgrim. You've got a ton of creators.
Somebody's mentioning George.
Oh, yeah, George is a Glyos creator. I think it's like
George's.
Let me. I have to like look up the name to say it correctly.
I just got this in this week.
That's from MCC TX Toys, who George gave the okay to use his Titan skeleton mold to produce his pumpkin spice skeletons.
He's got a Legion sword.
That looks awesome. Yeah, dude. Cool. I've been hounding George. I'm like, when he gonna make skeletons again? Come on, make skeletons. Because those haven't come out in years. Toyfinity, Dave Orkin. Thanks for Toyfinity's another. I talked about them earlier with the mortals and that what's it called? Egyptian. And Toyfinity makes some cool stuff. Like, do you guys remember like RoboForce and Mangalores and all that? Those old toy lines.
Yeah.
He got the rights for a lot of those and remade them in Glyos.
That's cool.
He since lost RoboForce, but he still has Mangalores, and you got to look at the Mangalore figures. They're cool. They're awesome.
I've seen some that are they at least appear kind of Motu inspired. Who does those? Do you know?
That's either Warlords of War, which is an awesome name for a toy line, or I think Spy Monkey also does some of those styles.
Gotcha.
And Spy Monkey also does another style called Weaponeers of Monka, which are like kind of Transformer-esque, like robot dudes.
Yeah.
So it hits a lot of those bases, but those two guys are awesome. They're all cool dudes.
So as far as Legions Con, I know they've got like their own like kind of like island or something.
Yeah.
So is that just like different vendors and stuff? Like how does that work at Legions Con for those of us that want to jump in?
So at Legions Con, a bunch of Glyos creators are all going to have their own tables in that one section. And you can go up and buy from each of them. They're going to have their own products, each their own distinct style. And yeah, I have to see who's making it out. I know that God Beast is going to be there. I think Toy Pizza is going to be there. I should really have.
Yeah, I was trying to pull up the map and I was having troubles finding it. So
I think I have
in the studio.
Here we go. Download full map. So it is S10. And that looks like, it says Onel Design, Biomasters, Raw Shark Studios, The God Beast, Manor Monster Studios, Space Out Designs, Toy Pizza, Cappy Space, Bitfigs, Toyfinity, Toy Raider, Paleoids, and Mighty Maniacs. So
Mighty Maniacs is going to be there? Okay, that's cool. It's a ton of creators, and each one of them is going to have their own space to be selling in that nook. Battle Tribes, another one. Thank you, Matt Stein. There's so many creators; it's hard to keep them all in your head off the cuff. But yeah, it's cool. Like, I encourage everyone to check it out. See the kind of what the origins of Legions was. And pick up a couple figures just to play around with, whatever speaks to you, and get different ones from different creators and see how like you can mix and match them and make some horror from the abyss or a cool heroic warrior.
What do they all have similar pricing, or is it kind of across the board like different?
It's a little across the board depending on the figure. So, like, for instance, Toy Pizza just came out with these Sea of Daggers, which are legitimately like 3 3/4 figures, and with all the same articulation, but everything's got a Glyos peg,
Gotcha.
And these are a little pricier. These are like high $30s to $40 range, which is the pricey end, obviously, of Glyos. But then you've got some figures that are like $15, $20. If it's a Kraboth, it's like $7.
What about that other one that you showed, like the alien looking one? Yeah.
How much is Marty selling? I think this might be like $20. God.
So it just kind of ranges somewhere between like 20 and 40, somewhere in there.
Yeah. It ranges mostly from 20. So this guy is 25, but it might be because of the amount of paint applications on him, which really does affect the cost of a figure.
And do any of these different companies and stuff, do they do like waves or is it just like individual figure releases?
They usually do drops of several figures at once, and that's essentially like their waves.
Gotcha.
Onel Design does have numbered waves, and they're like on wave like 104 now, I want to say. And let's see. Yeah, and it's like tons of stuff. The one thing I'll say, which I was advised when I got into Glyos, is don't try and go backwards because you'll go nuts.
I was just gonna say that sounds like a completionist nightmare.
Yeah, no, it is. It is. Like I've already like given up any kind of goal of being a completionist and just picking up what I want.
Sounds kind of like the same advice we give Legions people when they're jumping in. You know. Yeah. Don't look back.
And we're always thinking about that, fact. I'm just reading that comment that you just posted.
Steph works out. I'm planning on a special episode of Conversations with Glyos creators and fans, Marty and Son, Nate, Bill, Amber. Now that I nailed the Thursday down, I can invite more to say hi that will be at Legions Con.
Beautiful. Oh, nice. But yeah, you're seeing it with us doing 2.0s of characters, bringing them back in a newer and better form, because now with the parts at our disposal and just that first wave of Mythic was all traditionally sculpted and done the old school way, and now Eric's got digital sculpting, which you can do so much. And it's opened a lot of doors, and definitely look forward to the future of Mythic Legions, because it's going to be cool.
For sure.
Yeah,
for sure.
So what other kind of toy lines are you into either now or that you've collected in the past? Like what other interests do you have?
I do have a bunch of Joy Toy Warhammer figures up here.
Nice.
That whole cabinet is probably going to end up being Joy Toy Warhammer. So
I was actually just looking at some of the orcs for that online.
Oh, nice.
I love those designs where they have like all the cybernetic parts and stuff on them. Yeah.
Yeah, Warhammer is I kind of got into that hobby when I was a kid and have always tangentially like kept a foot in that community and that scene. And now that Joy Toy is making awesome the action figures that when I was a kid would have loved to have, because that was the thing about Warhammer. It's like such cool designs, like Space Marines, all that stuff. And now you can play with them. And they're very pop and swappable too. There's a really big,
cool.
Yeah, there's a really big, just like our community, there's a big 3D printing community with Joy Toy stuff.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that.
Yeah, awesome. And they're pretty easy to take apart. My one buddy, Sam, that I used to work with at NECA, he's like my toy big brother. He kind of like showed me the ropes through a lot of things. We went through a lot of Comic-Cons through thick and thin, and persevered. But he's really into Joy Toy Warhammer. He's got Warhammer armies in Joy Toy, which is crazy. But so many of my figures are gifts from him, and then I have a bunch of customs he's done that I treasure dearly. He knows Black Templars are my chapter of Space Marines, and every once in a while he'll show up and he'll hand me a toy and he'll be like, "Made this for you," and it's a custom Black Templar version of a figure that's
nice.
Out.
That's cool.
But yeah, I'm a big fan of those. I have my classified figures over there. G.I. Joe.
Was that kind of your main growing up? Was G.I. Joe?
My main growing up, it wasn't my main growing up. I had some when I was younger, and then I got into them again when it was probably one of the worst eras, the Valor versus Venom era.
Gotcha.
And I have a ton of that stuff, and then from there on, kept up with it pretty decently. but actually, Kenner Aliens and Predators are a real big line for me. And then when I worked at NECA, it was right when they were starting to come out with the remakes of those, which was super cool to be there for that. A lot of times they used my personal collection as reference for some of the figures.
Oh, wow.
Wait, isn't there a Jeremy Gerard story involving those recreations with him getting back into adult collecting or something?
Maybe.
Maybe he's talking about, I know he's talked about the NECA alien stuff, or at least that. Maybe I'm confusing things, but
no, it's very
how
possible.
weird is that if you were involved in things there, and what a small world, man.
Yeah.
No, it's crazy. Like going way back, my first job ever was like at Hot Topic in the mall, and I worked there for like 6 years. And last night, me and my fiance are sitting at home, and there was like one of those YouTube documentaries of like, going through the history of Hot Topic. I'm like, all right, let me throw it on. And like, they're talking about the history of it. And I'm like, they're getting to the era I was working there. And there's like a scene from a signing event where the kid who played Draco Malfoy did the in-store signing.
Yeah.
And it was like at my store. And I was I was working that day, and my old store manager, Larry, was like right in the background. And I'm like, holy shit, I worked that day. And then they go into Twilight, which the Twilight era was crazy, but NECA made a ton of money off Twilight, and that's one of the things that blew NECA up as a business. So like, I was dealing with Twilight there, and then I went to NECA afterwards, which was related to that. And then through watching that video again, one of the next jobs I had at Culture Fly, like some of their collectibles and merch showed up, and I'm like, God, everything I do is like interwoven in some weird fabric.
That's
wild.
That's pretty cool.
So like Twilight, like the vampire Twilight.
Yeah,
okay.
that made NECA a ton of money. Like that was that.
What did they NECA make for that?
Funded a lot of toys.
They made toys with it?
Yeah, they didn't make Twilight toys. They weren't, in my opinion, very good. But like that business, like let NECA like grow and like become a bigger company, and therefore make more toys, just not related. Yeah,
I didn't know that NECA made Twilight toys. That's interesting.
I didn't know anybody made Twilight toys.
Yeah, NECA made Twilight toys. They made Hunger Games toys. Like Twilight and Hunger Games, like made NECA a ton of money.
Wow,
interesting.
So we've kind of heard the Four Horsemen story in terms of them kind of working together at McFarlane and moving on. Like, how did you get into this business? How did you get into the toy industry as a whole?
Well, I mentioned I worked at Hot Topic, and I think I mentioned a buddy of mine who's helping with cleaning up parts here. That buddy is my buddy Adam, and he hired me at Hot Topic when I was a 17-year-old kid. And then years later, he got a job at NECA. And when I graduated college, he hit me up and he's like, hey, we're looking for somebody to do like the eBay store here. Like, are you interested? And I was like, sure. And I went to school for history. I had a history degree. Like, nothing related to what I'm doing now.
Right.
Well, I guess now a little bit with medieval fantasy, but like he gave me like a good word. And one of the guys who interviewed me was my now friend Sam. And they hired me. And I started out at NECA selling like smashed up figures on eBay, because they had a bunch of smashed up stuff in the warehouse they wanted to get rid of, but still make money on. So from doing that, I just was there for like, how long? 8 years I was at NECA. Wow. And I did San Diego Comic-Con every year. I worked that. New York Comic-Con, tons of local toy shows. Obviously, like, got to know like all the sculptors. So like, Beast of the Mesozoic, Dave Silva, like we worked together. I saw the Jurassic Park with Dave at the movies, which is kind of funny, considering he's now making his dinosaurs. Chris, obviously, became friends with him. and I got to know the Horsemen, and I met them through my buddy Sam, because Sam's, I don't know, well, you guys aren't from around here, but in the North Jersey area, there used to be the store Outer Limits back in the day, which was awesome. It had like, it was before like the internet was like what it is now, and you couldn't find toys anywhere. So it had like all these imports and like rare toys, like Gundam model kits before anyone had any, Safubi, Godzilla figures, all that stuff. And like old vintage toys, superpowers like up on the top shelves, Migos, like it was a great spot. And the Horsemen used to go there when they worked at McFarlane, and they knew Sam because Sam worked there. And then fast forward, they left. McFarlane started their studio. Sam got a job at NECA. And then the Horsemen started doing stuff with NECA. They did the Motu Staction figures. So they were zero articulation, but it was those 2000X designs.
Yeah, they're like the best Motu ever.
Yeah, and they did some stuff with NECA, and Sam like reconnected with them, and like they would see each other at Comic-Con, all that stuff. And I remember I was like selling the stuff on eBay, and he was like, "Oh yeah, the Horsemen sculpted that, blah blah blah." Oh, you're gonna meet them. They were all like the guys at McFarlane back in the day that sculpted all that stuff. I was like, "Oh, that's cool. Yeah, I'll totally like to meet them." And funny enough, we met at San Diego Comic-Con on the other side of the country. But they, Sam's like, "Oh, you want to meet the Horsemen?" I'm like, "Oh yeah, sure." So we go over. They're like, "Oh, this is Diego, blah blah blah," and it was just Jim, CB, and Eric sitting there at a booth, selling. I don't even know if they were selling anything that year, or maybe when did the Ravens come out? Was that 2013, 2014? I don't know. Anyway,
before my time.
Yeah. So yeah, I met them, and we, would chit chat, as the years went on, just, got to know each other. We always used to see each other at the airport at the end of San Diego at Phil's Barbecue in the terminal and eat dinner together, except Eric, because he doesn't eat meat. But we would, that was like our tradition. We would see the Horsemen at the end of Comic-Con and like get a bite to eat. So like, yeah, that's how the Horsemen like got to know me. And fast forward to 2020, they did that Exodus sale, and I bought a Vorgus Vermilius 1, the original Blood Knight, because I was like, I could use an extra for like customs or something.
Yeah. And
Chris posts on, at this point, obviously Chris had left NECA a few years before and all that, and Chris posts on Instagram, a picture of him packing up boxes, and he's like, "This is gonna be my weekend," and I said, "I'll pack mine first." So I was like the asshole that I hate.
You're the what we did right before we went live tonight.
But it was also just me goofing around with Chris.
Right.
We knew each other, and he was like, "Oh, just come here and pick it up yourself," because I used to come by and pick up Legions.
Right.
And I showed up, and he's like, "Hey, do you know anything about ShipStation?" And I'm like, "Yeah, Chris. Actually, that's like my whole job. Like right now. Like, what do you need help with?" A couple hours later, and my poor, very bored fiance, who thought we were just stopping in for a second.
Oh no!
She's sitting out in the parking lot.
No, she's sitting in like the main room area, just
gotcha.
like on her phone, and I'm like printing orders with Chris, and I'm like, you guys got to change this because you're losing money over here and this and that and that. And he's like, "Oh, okay, thanks." And he gave me my figure. I left. Then they had another sale. He's like, "Hey, could you come by again and help me out again?" And I was like, "Yeah, sure, I'll come by, help me out." By the third time, he's like, "Do you want to do this for us part time?" And I guess it was an easier sell because the Horsemen knew me. They knew I worked at NECA. They knew I was in the industry. At that time, I had left NECA already. I was at another place, Culture Fly, another awesome group of guys. And I was just, part-time working for the Horsemen. And then 2022, Jim sits me down, says, "Hey, want to bring you on full-time." and the rest is history. Now I'm here on the show.
That's awesome.
Nice. Because I remember you had just, I think, gone full time recently had gone full time there when we were at intern 22. Because I remember that was like a trivia question somewhere.
Yeah,
I think that weekend.
Probably. I was super sick. I didn't have COVID because I was testing constantly, but I was like super sick for that G-Con. So like I was like huddled in my room like for most of it, like all masked up, miserable, but I had to get everything done because it was the time. But wow. yeah, it was definitely a time to remember. That was my first G-Con full time. I'd been to a couple beforehand, but yeah, full time, yeah.
All right, Diego, this is the moment of the show. We're going to let you speak to the audience. For those watching live and anybody watching on replay, for anybody that ever has to reach out to Four Horsemen customer service, if you had one message that you wanted to deliver to them, just to kind of keep in mind as they're communicating with you guys, what would that message be?
One message. I got a lot of messages, but
hey, have at it.
Well, first thing I'll say is read our FAQ, which is posted on the store. You know, if you scroll down, there's a link to it. Answers a lot of questions off the bat. But you know, please be patient and remember, we don't have a customer service department. We have me and sometimes another guy. So it's a small operation, and yeah, know that if there is an issue and we say we're going to take care of it, we're going to take care of it. Sometimes it takes a little longer than others, just because of what's on my plate. But we always, in the end, make sure people get their parts, and make sure that they have figures that they can play with. Now, we don't cover everything. Your figure falls off a shelf, that's gravity, my friend.
Gotcha.
But we do our best to try to help everybody out. Yeah, because we're toy collectors and we understand what it is to want to play with your toys.
Gotcha. I would just tag on one thing, because I've heard you guys say this before too. When they start shipping a wave, it's just come across the water and it's landed. Don't bog up their email with, where's my shipping notice? Or even if you're joking, like even just like joke emails still clogs up the system. It's still something they have to go through. So, yeah, just don't do that.
Thank you. Thank you, Curtis. I appreciate that, because that is true.
Yeah. So
nice. Awesome. Thank you for saying that, Kurt. I was gonna ask the same question, or essentially the same question. So
beautiful.
Yes.
Well, I mean, we're kind of right at the 2 hours, which is usually about when we start cutting it off. But is there what else? Any other things that you'd like to share with us or the folks on the watching?
2024 is going to be a great year for Mythic Legions. That's all I'm going to say. I'm excited. Okay. I'm always excited. Don't get me wrong, but
we are so stoked to come and see you guys in November. Not only at G-Con and Legions Con, but intern. Jesse and I have said this to folks numerous times, but in case you haven't heard it, like we encourage everybody to put in for intern. At some point in your life, you need to go to intern, because you guys are so courteous with everybody there and just take them in and welcome them. And we understand, like, that is a time of year where you guys are just crazy busy. I mean, it's a day before G-Con. You're getting ready to have Legions Con. You're usually trying to finish these big giant statues. You've got, stuff that you're shipping out, and yet you invite all these people into your home and you take them around and you answer questions, and you never act like they're bothering you. It is like you guys are truly happy to have these folks there and share the experience with them. And we just can't thank you guys enough for that. So yeah, we just truly appreciate it.
Yeah. We're happy to bring people in and show people how everything works. It's something that, I wish I got to experience before I started working in the industry. That it's a cool thing to see. We do it because we love the community. Like I said, I think it might have been before we went live, but even doing customer service, this community is a great community. Like I've had to do customer service for a lot of toy lines, and this has been one of the more pleasant experiences. It always, has its ups and downs, but the Mythic Legions and Cosmic Legions collecting community is great. Very understanding, and I wouldn't have agreed to do it otherwise. And it's because of guys like you, that not only purchase our stuff and customize it and showcase it, but have these shows and build the community that we're able to do this, and we always are thankful. That's what Legions Con and G-Con is an expression of, is, bringing you into our home because you're just as much of a part of our home. We're always thinking about all the collectors that love our products, love our figures. And we really keep them in mind when we're making decisions and try to make as many people as happy as possible, which we can't make everybody happy. That's just the truth.
You guys definitely seem like you try.
Yeah. Yeah, try not to suck, as Cornboy says.
Speaking of not making people happy, there's people saying Dragon confirmed. I don't want to make you unhappy by saying it, but I'll let you think what you want to think. But anyway, not to disappoint people further, but we always try to do things in a way that helps the community and encourages everybody and embraces them. So
I think it's important to just the way things go as a whole, whether it's in toys, movies, whatever, you can tell when the people that are creating these things actually care about it, and it's not just a business, and the fact that the Horsemen and all of you guys there really do like this toy line and really do care about this community. It shows. It's not just dollars and cents, and so we just all appreciate that, and just everything that you guys do there. So yeah, thanks a lot. Appreciate it.
Well, yeah, and I got to add on for the fact that for this show, it's just a couple of guys, like you said, we're just a couple of fans, couple of collectors. Not trying to be humble, but like we're in the big scheme of things, we're nobodies, right? Like in the grand scheme of the world, right? And I'm not saying like to be self deprecating or whatever, but like if I were to, I think we've had almost everybody from the studio on the show.
We've got Jim next year, and I think we still need George.
George and Jim are both scheduled.
Yeah.
Jim's tentatively, I got to make sure, but he's agreed to be on, and George is scheduled. So
yeah, we've had a lot
other than maybe a couple of the shipping guys, but we've had Cookie on, we've had Greg on, we've had Vern on.
You got everybody who would want to talk already.
Well, that's good. If the other people who we've missed want to talk at some point, we will happily talk to them about their collecting and everything. So
I mean, it just seems like such a dream place to work. And I listen, I understand every job has its frustrations, and there's times where, you just different stresses in your life and stuff, but it just seems like such a great place to work that anytime that one of you guys wants to come on and talk about that experience, we're just giddy to have you. So, yeah, absolutely.
Now, I know we were wrapping up, Curtis, but I got one more question for you, Diego.
Sure.
Okay.
Well, it might be two questions. A, do you enjoy Lord of the Rings and any of the cinematic iterations that have unfolded?
Yes, I'm a big fan of the movies. I think they're one of the last great cinematic endeavors to be put to film, especially the mix between practical and special effects, CGI effects. I'm a big fan of them, and that's why I'm not super crazy about Rings of Power right now. But
okay, I was gonna sidestep. I was going to sidestep Rings of Power because I know that's a very contentious topic for a lot of folks. I'm personally enjoying it, but I know it's definitely straying from a lot of things. But what I was going to question too is, have you seen the trailer for? I guess this is 3 questions. And are you anticipating watching the War of the Rohirrim anime coming out this fall?
Oh, I didn't see that. That's cool.
Okay.
All right. I'll have to check that out. Yeah, that's one thing about Lord of the Rings and any like fantastical or even sci-fi world, that putting it to animation is always kind of like, in my opinion, the best course of action because you can do so much more. And yeah, I'm definitely
I know
check that out.
They've got some of the actors coming back. I think they're doing it as like a framing story where they're setting it up with existing characters from the trilogy, and someone's telling the backstory of this War of the Rohirrim and Helm Hammerhand and all that stuff. But look, it's called War of the Rohirrim. Check out the trailer. Anime's hit or miss stylistically for me if I like it or not, but it looks epic, and the fact that it's set in the Peter Jackson version of the world and telling a backstory, I think is really cool. I'm excited for it.
You've got me excited for it now. I'm stoked. I love animation. I love Lord of the Rings, and I love fantasy. So it's checking off all the boxes.
There you go.
I don't know if you just pulled this up, Curtis, but Uncle Bob wants to know if he can bring the puppy to the studio.
I don't see why not. Bob, you got my number. Message me about it. Tell me how big the dog is and how well behaved. And I can
tell you from my personal experience, both of the dogs, when I've gone into the shop, they're both there. They're usually very friendly. They're usually asleep behind the counter, and one of them's a puppy. So the fact that the puppy is sleeping all day is amazing.
All right.
But they, they're very sweet dogs.
Awesome. Well, Diego, we really appreciate you being on. We look forward to seeing you in November. And this Wednesday, you guys have a special show coming up, don't you? Don't you have something special going on this Wednesday?
This Wednesday.
Isn't this some sort of anniversary or something?
I don't know. Well, I do know Four Horsemen Day is tomorrow.
Oh, gotcha. That's important.
Yeah. We're all gonna have dinner, but I don't know. Next week, I don't think anything special.
Okay, I know it's 1 week closer to Chris's birthday, but
yeah.
I guess it's coming up to the anniversary of Four-ish Horsemen o'clock.
Ah, yeah, that's it.
I guess. Which I actually was there for that first episode. I just wasn't on screen. I was right behind the camera watching them do it from a cell phone.
Very nice. So yeah, everybody tune into that on Wednesday on the Four Horsemen YouTube channel. You may see a shipping update for Diego.
Don't play again.
With some explosions. So
there will definitely be shipping updates this week.
Beautiful.
Okay. Well, I mean, because like we said at the beginning of the show, figure Obscura, Frankenstein's creature, available on Four Horsemen right now. I'm not sure what's left. I closed that tab out, I think. I'm going to pull up one more thing before we go, because we talked about it and someone sent us the link. If I can find my buttons.
Buttons. Who's got the buttons?
So, Geswaldo sent this to us of him using an addle. So I don't know what the audio is going to be, but.
See how he does. Echevarria. There it is.
Okay. Well, there we go.
All right.
So yeah, it's still playing.
Look forward to seeing that on in a Mythic Legion figure. So,
real quick, I just got to say, I got your text, Matt. Thanks for saying hi.
Well, thanks a lot. We are going to go ahead and close out the show. We're going to put you backstage. If you got to run, we totally understand it. If not, hang out, and we'll be with you right as soon as we close it out. Okay?
Sounds good.
Thanks sir.
Diego.
And that was...
This is an important Four Horsemen shipping update with Diego.
Diego.
Every time it cracks.
And no one can see him, but he's chuckling off screen. I promise. Diego is, yes. Oh my
I love
goodness.
that so much.
Well, everybody, this was an absolute blast. Again, getting near the end of most everybody that Diego said would want to talk on a show. Having been on, we've got 2 big hitters left, and they're on the docket for the next couple months. So
yeah, and we talked about it last week. I mean, call it the road to Legion's Con, the flight to Legion's Con, the subway to Legion's Con, whatever you want to call it. We've got banger after banger for the rest of the year. It is just a lot of cool stuff coming up, a lot of cool people that we're going to get to talk to. We're just really blessed to talk with. We appreciate Diego being on this week, and next week we've got.
Oh, that's me.
That's
next week.
Yeah.
We've got Charles Swearingen, a.k.a. Chucky's Geek Spot, and Perry Morrell Jr., a.k.a. Perry Morrell Jr., joining us here, talking about stuff they're going to have at Legion's Con, collecting, just all sorts of stuff. It will probably be a very Legion's Con heavy focused episode, of course. Now, yeah, we'll talk about some other stuff too.
Chucky's Geek Spot, I don't think was there last year, right? But the year before they were. And they had a ton of like light up options and different effects and things like that for stuff.
Yep. He had like power beams and stuff for like Godzillas that light up, all sorts of cool stuff. He showed me something. I'm not going to show him yet, but he showed me some stuff.
At that one, I picked up some like stuff for Alithia. He had like these like purple flames that could like go on the top of her hat and stuff, and just all kinds of cool stuff. So excited to see what he's got. Perry does amazing customs, a lot of stuff with trolls. So if you want to see some cool troll customs, check him out. But yeah, we'll have both of those guys on next week, and it should be fun to talk with them.
Totally. Can't wait. And it's hidden behind there, but that is going to be episode 39. So that's another 39 weeks straight, man.
Yep. Let me see. Here we go. Boom. There we go. Now you can see it.
Oh, hey, there it is.
Yeah.
I just realized that little thing's covering that up every week when we post this. So, yes. All right. Well, folks, we will let you all have a good rest of your Sunday night or whatever time or day it is that you are watching the replay. We'll see you back here next week or in whatever variety of shows and comments we stumble into at the same time. If not, we'll see you at Legion's Con or again, right back here on the shelf. So until next time, Curtis.
What's on your shelf?
Indeed. I have too many tabs open.
Once upon a time.
No!